I want you to really understand what I just told you, the ramifications of this. What I told you is there's an Axis and allied power. Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Ukraine, Russia, the stands, of course, Saudi Arabia, I don't know about Yemen, Iran, India, China. Those are all part of an ally. Now, everybody's talking about gold. Oil. What would that mean for oil? But I just told you it also affects the U.S. dollar. This will take the U.S. dollar out of the world reserve currency, which people told me 10 years ago could never happen. It's going to happen soon. But more importantly, goods and services. Think about what happens if we take this part of the world out of production. Let's say there's a Cold War. When we had a Cold War with Russia, we didn't really need any stacking dolls, so we were pretty good. But now, if this is the Cold War and we don't trade with these guys, do you know how much your clothing is going to cost? How much a car will cost? Where are you going to get your chips for anything? Because Taiwan is the one that makes all of the sophisticated chips. This is going to change everything about your life, everything that you think you know about America. The global financial system and everything we've grown accustomed to is going to fundamentally change. No matter how it all shakes out, your dollar will not be the same. Your purchasing power will be much weaker than it is today. And I believe we have a matter of months, not years, before any of this takes place. Okay, so what is taking place right now? Well, this is not unusual. This is just going to be very disruptive. And, war is usually the thing that just kind of makes everybody just go along with things because you're just happy when the war is over. But the system, our monetary system, has already gone through two radical changes. America didn't really notice them because, really, honestly, it was good for us. Bretton Woods won. This is in New Hampshire, Bretton Woods. And there was a big conference, and it happened in 1944. Bretton Woods won. That's where we said to the rest of the world, because we had all the gold, you know what? You guys are going to take our dollar and we'll just store all the gold here. And then we'll have our Federal Reserve make dollars and you keep those. It's as good as gold. Well, then in 1971, we had Bretton Woods 2. First, the U.S. dollar wasn't up against anything, and it started to not really look good after Nixon took us off the gold standard. But we were still the world's reserve currency, but others were starting to look at the dollar and say, wait a minute, do I need that? That's when we got together with OPEC and we backed our dollar, kind of semi-pegged our dollar to oil. That was fine, really, until 2008. That is when the world went through a real scare because we started printing money like there was no tomorrow. And that gets us to here. March 22, Bretton Woods 3. The beginning of Bretton Woods 3 has just happened, and no one is really talking about it. I don't know if you remember the show where I did the trust implosion chalkboard, this several years ago. I said that when trust breaks down on all levels, it will lead to one thing. What was that one thing? Well, if you watched my show, maybe Joe Biden watched my show as well. Because this is what I said, and this is what he said 2 days ago.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there. And we've got to lead it. And we've got to unite the rest of the free world in doing it.
So we're going to change the world as you know it. A new world order. I said on that program, too, New World Order comes and usually comes through war. Now, he was talking about a shift in the world economy. He called it an inflection point. He said it happens every 3 or 4 generations, roughly 100 years. But we're actually on a cycle that lasts 30 to 50 years. Bretton Woods 1, 1944, Bretton Woods 2, 1971, and now Bretton Woods 3. Mark the date for the history books. Bretton Woods 3 just occurred, and a new world order is taking shape. Mao once said, "There is no construction without destruction." And that's what's happening to the financial system. This month, all of the G7 countries shut off the Russian central bank's access to nearly all of its foreign currency reserves, $630 billion. Now, if you're Russia, that money is now effectively gone. It no longer exists. So if the global financial system can just decide that your money can suddenly go poof, what the heck is money? Is this all a con? Why would the global financial elite reveal this charade? You know, it's almost like they want everything to come crashing down. They want the destruction in order to commence with reconstruction. I showed you this earlier. China is racing to construct their own system backed by a central bank digital currency. It will be backed by oil and gold. It will be backed by commodities. But the Great Reset and the IMF has been planning this for quite some time as well. This is from the World Economic Forum in 2014, the exact same time the global community was delving out sanctions on Russia for taking Crimea from Ukraine. Quote, "Does global finance need a new Bretton Woods?" If anyone says I'm spreading conspiracy theories about Bretton Woods 3 and the current radical change of the financial system, these are their own words. And this was 8 years ago. They called their shot like Babe Ruth pointing to the stands, but we just didn't know what they meant back then. They called out China for not playing ball. Quote, "The situation has been aggravated further by the evolution of the China-led architecture in Asia." They were all but pleading for China to join them. But I told you earlier, before the break, China's response to Western-backed sanctions against Russia was to accelerate their project of creating a central bank digital currency. Now, fast forward 5 years, and the World Economic Forum began pushing for a one true global currency, their words, not mine, administered by the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Now, is it just me, or is this all sounding very New World Order-ish? Keep in mind, this is all pre-pandemic. They didn't have the serious crisis to take advantage of yet. But in January 2020, it happened, and 9 months later, they started. In October 2020, the head of the IMF stated that we were now in a new Bretton Woods moment. The World Economic Forum and the IMF have all been working in parallel this entire time to fundamentally change your money. So what's the plan? What's their solution to a new Axis system backed by a Chinese digital yuan? Well, a Western-built global digital system that dominates other digital currencies in participating countries like the United States. Now, digital currencies are essential for the Great Reset to work, and it is different than what we already have. When you go buy gas, you most likely don't put cash down. You just use your card. This is different. This is a currency that is programmable. I'll show you later. Digital currency will be crucial for enforcing ESG and getting inflation under control. It's the next stage of total control.